mechanic with 40 years of experience just told a customer he can't fix his truck. Not because he doesn't know engines, because the engine won't let him in. Across the country, independent diesel shops are turning away work they could have handled blindfolded a decade ago. The trucks haven't gotten harder to understand. The permission to touch them has disappeared. In a small shop outside Bowling Green, Kentucky, owner Danny Ruiz has a folder on his desk labeled, "Can't Touch." It's 3 inches thick. Every ticket inside represents a truck he sent away, not because of the damage, but because of the software. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly who built that wall and why they built it on purpose. This isn't a handful of frustrated mechanics. Independent shops perform the majority of diesel repair work in the United States. The trucks that haul freight, run farms, and keep small businesses moving. When those shops turn work away, the truck doesn't disappear. It goes to a dealership, at a price the small operator often can't absorb. Danny Ruiz built his business on a simple promise: fix it faster and cheaper than the dealer. For 30 years, that promise held. Then the trucks changed. Emissions control units, proprietary ECM locks, and manufacturer-only diagnostic tools started arriving standard on new models. Ruiz made a decision most owners in his position eventually make. He stopped bidding on anything built after a certain model year. Not because he couldn't diagnose the problem, because diagnosing it required software he wasn't allowed to buy. The system behind this isn't a conspiracy. It's a structure. Manufacturers control the diagnostic access, the software licensing, and the parts pairing on their own engines. That structure was built one contract, one patent, and one licensing fee at a time. But this is only the surface layer. To understand how we got here, go back 2 decades. Diesel engines were mechanical. A skilled tech with a wrench and a manual could rebuild almost anything. Then came emissions law. Tighter federal standards forced manufacturers to computerize engine control just to stay compliant. That single shift changed everything downstream. Software joined the wrench in every rebuild, and whoever owned the software owned the repair. Diagnostic software interface on a laptop screen, manufacturer logo visible. Manufacturers didn't stop at compliance. They saw an opportunity. If the diagnostic software stayed proprietary, dealership service departments became the only reliable place to get certain repairs done. Service revenue for dealerships began climbing steadily as independent competition thinned out. 3 words: control the software. Then came parts pairing, a system where a replacement part won't function unless it's electronically married to the vehicle through manufacturer software. To replacement sensor, error message on diagnostic screen. An independent shop could install the exact correct part, brand new, straight from the manufacturer's own catalog, and the truck would still refuse to run. 3 words again: lock the parts. Right to repair advocates pushed back through state legislatures. Some states passed laws requiring manufacturers to share diagnostic access. Manufacturers responded with new licensing tiers, subscription paywalls, and tooling costs that priced out smaller shops even when the access existed on paper. But here's what most people get wrong. Most people assume this is about repair difficulty. It isn't. It's about repair economics, and the numbers explain everything. A full manufacturer diagnostic license for a single truck brand can run $8,000 to $12,000 per year per shop. Invoice or subscription renewal notice for diagnostic software. That's more than many independent shops spend on their entire annual tooling budget combined. Multiply that across the 4 or 5 major diesel brands a full-service shop would need to cover, and the number climbs past $40,000 a year, just for the right to plug in. For a 2-bay independent shop, that's close to what one full-time technician earns annually. Owners are being asked to choose: hire a mechanic, or buy the software that lets the mechanic do the job. This is the reason an estimated 72% of independent diesel shops report declining at least some modern repair work, according to industry service surveys. Not from lack of skill, from lack of legal, affordable access. Here's the counterintuitive turn. Dealerships aren't necessarily the villain in this story. Many dealership service departments are just as frustrated. They're bound by the same manufacturer restrictions, just absorbed into a bigger balance sheet that can eat the cost. The real winner in this system is the manufacturer's parts and licensing division, a segment that now generates recurring revenue independent of vehicle sales. Every truck sold becomes a revenue stream for decades, not through the sale itself, but through controlled access to keep it running. A single fleet account, forced into dealer-only servicing, can generate more in lifetime software and parts fees than the trucks cost to build. That's the shift few people outside the industry understand. The profit center moved from the factory floor to the service terminal, which means the shop that turned your truck away isn't failing you. It's being priced out of helping you. If you've ever felt like your local mechanic used to be able to fix anything, and now suddenly can't, you weren't imagining it. You were watching an industry get walled off in real time. 15 years ago versus today, same trade, different tools. Most drivers assume repair cost comes from parts and labor. What they don't realize is that a growing share of every diesel repair bill is a licensing fee, passed down invisibly through dealer markup. Understanding this puts you ahead of almost everyone who owns one of these trucks. You now know why the quote at the dealership is what it is, and why your local shop, the one that's fixed your equipment for years, had to say no. Danny Ruiz's "Can't Touch" folder isn't a sign of a failing business. It's a record of a system working exactly as designed, just not for him, and not for ODOT. Which brings us to what happens next. Right now, state legislatures are weighing new right-to-repair bills that could force this access open. Manufacturers are lobbying just as hard to keep it closed. The outcome of that fight will decide something bigger than who fixes your truck. It will decide who gets to own American industry, the people who build the equipment, or the people who service it for the rest of its working life.